Hello everybody, I am Steve SVU and welcome to week 2 of the MMC Pokemon Draft League, where I am reacting to every single battle of this week. And to start us all off, we have Vinny versus Kennybot. Honestly, a crazy matchup here for sure, especially considering that these two and I are all buddies for sure. So Vinny and Kenny both really want to beat each other's asses 100% of the time. And of course, Vinny brings out the Toadscool, the GOAT here, and then that I assume here, because I know Vinny, he said that Toadscool is a Golden Go answer, so we're gonna see just how good that is today. And then Kennybot brings his Tera Captain Phalanx, as well as, you know, the standard individuals here, as well as Tera Arbalaba. So it all sort of depends on what he wants to bring here. I did, in fact, actually help Kenny with prep this week. I don't know how much he has changed since. However, this is not the team that I brought from Vinny. Well, actually, it kind of is. This is pretty much the exact team besides Toadscool. So, let's see how this all goes right now. Just there, and there we go. All right. Let's kick it. All right. So let's see what the leads are. Okay, Skilligers and Incineroar. Okay, so this is a knockoff and a half coming here from this Incineroar into this Raikou, I imagine. And yes, indeed, that happens, and that absolutely chunks that Zapdos, and that's health that he is not getting back unless Clefable wishes him. So then the Volt Switch comes on out as the Skeletors comes in. I'm surprised Toadscool didn't come in, to be frank. But then, of course, Incineroar comes right back out because it can pretty much wall Skeletors fairly infinitely. Of course, the Spadef drops aren't exactly fun, but then, of course, this is just threatening knockoffs on everything, and the parting shot as well, as Golden Go is likely coming out. In fact, that's what it is. So then, this is likely swapping again into Toadscool, which eats that Shadow Ball, gets a Spadef drop, which is pretty nutty, but then Zapdos comes on in as 4? Pain Split, okay. Drawing up that Zapdos' HP, because of course Toadscool doesn't have the most HP stat, and then misses a Hurricane as Vinny switches into Gliscor to get the Poison Heal proc, and then Incineroar comes on in as Vinny brings out his Stealth Rocks, trying to just, I imagine, hazard stack him, but then the Earthquake comes on out. So that's likely meaning he's not bringing the counter tech, which is what I did to counter Kenny's Great Tusk, because it guarantee lives, even a +1 Ice Spinner. So that is always my favorite. But then this Clefable is not having the best time of his life, to be honest. But this is likely going into Raikou now. In fact, that is indeed what happens, as the Shadow Ball barely does not KO this Raikou, as now he's up to 71% and threatening another Volt Switch or even a Shadow Ball, which I did actually bring in our prep together. But then, of course, Recover, Golden Go just strikes again as Toadscool comes on out. As our Arbalaba comes on in to absolutely destroy that Switch N, and then trying to get some some momentum, bringing in Zapdos as he gets Toxicked. Man, Vinny is calling Kenny out here. So then the Protect, of course, the Toxic Stall, Toadscool set. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. And then Raikou coming on out as Zapdos Roost, and he's likely either going to Volt Switch or Hard Swap this next turn, if I absolutely had to guess. And yep, there is the Hard Switch, as now Great Tusk gets booster speed, and the Scald, does it burn? It does not, in fact, burn. Big one there, but he stays in and is attempting to just take out this Great Tusk, which he does, absolutely calling Kenny out there. Jeez, man, that is absolutely insane. But hey, it works out, so I can't call you that crazy. But then Arbalaba comes on out, as you see that it is Harvest now. And then Giga Drain doing a solid chunk to this Skeletors now. As then Incineroar comes on out to counter the Skeletors. This is the hardest counter that Kenny has to this thing, as this thing really does not like to get knocked off. But then Clefable coming on out, getting Flare Blitzed. Okay, getting called out there on that switch in a little bit. But now Leftovers just putting it out of range, more than likely at least. And then Parting Shot letting this Clefable get back up to full HP as a result. Because now Golden Go comes on in, However, actually, no, because Wish will proc this turn now as Toad School comes on in. And then at this current point in time, this Toad School is walling this Golden Go really, really hard. But now, yeah, he's just gonna nasty plot up as he is dual status, Spore, and Toxic. Absolutely evil man. Evil, evil man. Then the Skeletors coming on in as now the Incineroar comes back in as per usual. Shadow Ball. Yep. But this is slowly whittling down his best answer into the Skeletors for sure. So this is very, very scary for Kenny for sure. Knockoff did a solid chunk, but sadly the Toxic has been procced already. So that means he doesn't really care. And now Arboliva coming on in as Vinny sets up his hazards yet again. This is going to be a long yap sesh, folks. Toad School coming on in to absolutely wall this thing, especially defensively. And then Zapdos coming on in, might try to Hurricane it, but I don't know if that will even 2-hit KO. Vinny's not even going to risk it as he is going into Clefable as he defogs instead. Very, very solid play here all around. Vinny is playing his defensive pieces incredibly well for sure. And let it be known, this is the man known for hyper offense. Going for Wish yet again, just trying to slowly whittle down this team. As the Raikou comes on in and the Golden Go wakes up and nasty plotting here. So this is definitely going to be pretty rough for Vinny to switch in on now. As nothing really wants to eat the +2 Shadow Ball, but he crits! Okay, Kenny does go for the recover, which was a great play. Because now he can just spam recover yet again. And be at full HP just about. Granted, if that didn't crit, then likely wouldn't have even given it a shot. But hey, this Toad School now has a very low HP. So now you know for a fact it's going for Pain Split. And, oh, he goes into Skeletors. Not a great switch in here, as now this is going to be knocked off yet again, or even Flare Blitzed. This might be in range. However, yeah, don't want to risk that to Scald. Very understandable. So, the Volt Switch, very understandable there, I would say. And now Clef coming on in. Can this Clef beat this Arboliva, though? Going for Wish, of course, very standard here. But then that Giga Drain, oh, just barely missing out on that HP. Now, if he was Seed Sour, maybe that would have killed. But he doesn't care about the HP on Clef. He instead just wants to heal up this goddamn Toad School. Which, honestly, I am surprised Kenny hasn't brought out Phalanx yet. Because it does seem like Phalanx is in a pretty good position right now to do some solid damage into things like Weavile, Clefable, and that Toad School, of course. But now the SD Weavile coming on in as he goes right back out into Skeletors as Kenny goes for Tera Blast Fire. That did a solid chunk, I have to admit, but surprisingly not revealing any Earth Power just yet, I would say, as he goes for the, oh, okay, the Sugar Berry. Let's see, and that burned. So now this Toad School is unironically a threat now with very few physical attackers remaining. And now he is slowly going to get whittled down as this Skeletor is just going to try to snowball as much as he possibly can, at least. Because this is a free slack off here now as he slowly just gets whittled down by the burn. He will be at around 50% unless he slacks off again, which honestly he has no reason not to, yeah, for sure. But going to go for highest horsepower again. Now it's going to be, yep, around 70%, as now he is, oh, he instead wants to just stall this out even more, wasting those precious slack offs to be at max HP. I think I personally would have killed the turn before, though you were at 70 HP versus 77. That HP very well could matter. Now this Incineroar does get outsped by the Skeletors, and now this Skeletor is in a position to absolutely wreck the rest of Kenny's team here. And now, yep, going for that yet again here. That is definitely very, very rough. A Hurricane Confusion might be pretty solid, but now he isn't definitely in range of Golden Go, but he is likely just going to switch out into probably Toedscool. Oh, never mind, he is asleep, which then, yeah, that is definitely very, very rough for sure, as I don't think our Balava can survive, but this likely will not be able to kill from here, as it barely misses out because he does not have the Earth power. But Harvest can't even save him now because of the minus SpDef, on top of the being +3 and weakened now. So Vinny clutches out the 6-0 dub with the stall team plus boosting Skeletors, making him probably first overall, I would have to guess, depending on how the rest of this week goes. So we shall see how round 2 goes. I'll see you guys there in a second. Alright everybody, welcome to the second match here of week 2, where we have Jade Mines versus Iger. Honestly, I think Jade Mines has an amazing matchup this week, mainly because, well, he didn't bring not Tera Fire, but he didn't bring Fire Silvally. So this Mega Scizor has an incredible matchup here. And not only that too, but he only has one resist for Tera Water Araquanid on his entire team, and he also didn't bring that. So I feel like that these two Mons have a chance of really putting in some major work this week. But regardless, I do think that Iger's team is solid enough to put up a hell of a fight in case that ends up, all it takes is just a couple of good good plays, and then I feel like he has a very real chance of making it. So let's get right into it then. Okay, so for the lead matchup, we have Infernape, okay, versus Snorlax. Alright, I do think that a Stealth Rock here would be good. Oh, a Nasty Plot, okay. This Earthquake is going to do a lot of damage for sure. And this Flamethrower is not going to do it. That was a very good trade on Iger's part for sure, because even if they went for Focus Blast, there was the chance that it missed, and even on top of that, no, that probably would have killed. That was super effective, plus stronger. Yeah, that probably would have killed. But regardless, staying in there and letting that go down, I think was 100% solid. And now this Liquidation is just going to absolutely murder. And let's see. Okay, Swampert, does this do anything? Or do they... Okay, they just go right out into Charge-a-Bug. Who gets knocked off? No Violite. Big sad. I love the Bus Boy. I'm very happy about it. 44 damage. That did a chunk and a half. And now Sticky Web is going up. So now that makes it even better for Terapagos or even Mega Scizor. Maybe not so much Araquanid and Hatron, mainly just because those Mons are just incredibly slow. But regardless, Mega Scizor getting shipped down quite a bit here. Metagross, Clear Body, yep. I'm not sure. Ooh, the Natural Gift Fire to take out the Mega Scizor. Very, very solid chance there for sure. Very solid set. I really appreciate that. Now Tera Water into just Liquidation, if I had to guess. Yep. And of course that's going to claim a KO, and I don't see any super effective moves on this team now. So let's see if Mega Pidgeot can actually handle this Araquanid. It did a solid chunk, but yeah, that Liquidation is just going to absolutely demolish this thing. So yeah, Tera Water Araquanid and very few resists is kind of rough there. Let's just see if this Moltres can handle it, and it cannot as well. So this Araquanid just absolutely catching so many bodies here. And now Scolipede coming on out, Earthquaking the Araquanid, claiming the kill, as well as getting its speed back up to neutral with Speed Boost. Very, very solid for sure. But now Terapagos can come on out, and I don't even think he needs to go for a Rapid Spin if he really doesn't want to, as I do think that Tera Starstorm is just fine. Ooh, Rock Polish. I like that. I like a good Rock Polish set. And now Tera Starstorm crit kills the Scolipede. I think that crit might have mattered. I don't know if the Scolipede would have KO'd in return, because at the end of the day, this is a pretty bulky Terapagos, but gets another kill, or another crit, I should say, with the Tera Starstorm on the Swampert. honestly, I feel like this was very, very close, all things considered. I feel like Mega Scizor had an amazing matchup, but at the end of the day, you can't. Sometimes you just can't really play around funny natural gift tech. I really like that. That's something that I wish I saw more of in like Nat Dex League, not Nat Dex, in Pal Dex leagues. And then Terra Araquanid without any resists. Yeah, that was pretty rough for sure. Especially considering I think Bulu had a decent enough matchup here. Like, not really into Mega Scizor exactly, but into other things, I think it would have been fine. But hey, at the end of the day, this was a very good match, I would say. Very quick at only 15 turns. But let's get into the third round now. Alright, everybody, welcome to the third match of Week 2 of the MMC Pokemon Draft League, where we have Forza versus Mana Burn. Very solid matchups all around. I still do think that Mega Pinsir has a pretty solid matchup into Forza's team, especially considering that Celesteela is kind of his best switch into that Pinsir because it isn't weak to close combat, which it will definitely be aiming that into the Steelix, though to be fair, Steelix's defensive stats, especially after Mega Evolving, are still crazy high, so there's probably a chance that close combat does not 2-hit KO, but regardless, even outside of Mega Pinsir, I think everything has a decent enough matchup. Roaring Moon could be solid, Mega Diancie with Tera Diancie, and then Breloom is a pretty interesting pick, though I imagine that is for the Rotom Wash, and then on Forza's side, I 100% get it. Psychic Terrain Sneasler. Genuinely, I don't think there's much that switches in well against that, and that same things can be said for Mana Burn's team. The only thing I would really like to mention is that Aerial 8 Quick Attack is a pretty hard counter, I will say. But even then, Bramblegast, not really a good switch in, not gonna lie. Not really a great mon here, I feel like, but it is pretty solid in terms of just hazard removal, which is very well could be what Deoxys Speed could be doing here. I love the Rotom duo here, so let's just get right into it now. Okay, so what are these leads? We have Breloom leading off against Mega Steelix here. Honestly, yep, that's pretty standard here. Honestly, yeah, okay. Bramblegast already showing me what's up here by switching into Breloom pretty handily. Though I will say that Bullet Seed did not do much damage. No loaded dice is pretty rough, but at the same time, what are you going to do? That Bullet Seed did nothing, yeah. And then just spamming Strain Sap, pretty solid. As then the switch into Rotom Wash as Rotom Heat goes for Overheat, pretty solid there. And then going into Breloom, again pivoting around with the Electric Water type, that did a lot of damage, all things considered, damn. Going right back into Bramble, and now Rotom Heat comes back in. Let's see what he goes for. He goes for the Poltergeist, which does a chunk to the Rotom Heat. I do think that might be defensive Rotom Heat, though I am not 100% sure about it. The Volt Switch in on the Rotom Switch into Roaring Moon now, and we see the booster speed here. Okay, so then Dragon Dance, is this probably Will-O-Wisps if I have to guess? No, going for the Volt Switch. Now this is +2 speed and +1 attack. Let's see if Mega Steelix will be able to tank a hit and go for the Body Press. Earthquake does 51% as now, yep, Body Press takes out the Roaring Moon. Honestly, kind of mid, I must say, kind of mid. But the Deoxys comes on in at the Mega Steelix now as Rotom Wash switches in, as now he is going for the dual screens, but instead just goes for the Psycho Boost on the Rotom Wash. Does not do much damage whatsoever. This could very well be Assault Vest Rotom Wash. As now the Volt Switch comes on out, doing a chunk as Deoxys Speed gets up the final screen and now goes for Psycho Boost on the Bramblegast. Poltergeist will be enough to knock it out, as we see that it is now Light Clay, so those screens are going to be up for a fat minute. Now Pinsir comes on in and goes for a Swords Dance Raw, as now Poltergeist does a chunk of damage with the Pinsirite. Let's see. Now the facade comes on out. Okay. Very interesting. Definitely a good idea, especially considering that burning this thing is a very solid way of beating it. But we see that Indeedee is indeed scarfed to outspeed the Mega Pinsir. And then knocks it all out as Mega Steelix comes on in against the Diancie. The screens are still up, but the reflect is gone, so now that heavy slam will do a ton of damage if it gets it off, but instead it goes for Earth Power. Very solid, and Tera Diancie is showing why it is one of the best Tera Captains in the format, as now it is getting Nightshaded down by the Rotom Wash. And we see that leftovers are proccing, so let's just see how this all ends out then. Going for Calm Mind as Rotom Wash just spamming Nightshade. If this is a Draining Kiss set, this could be really rough for Forza for sure. But we see that, yep, that does not do much damage. That is definitely defense invested. So now the Nightshade is going to be able to knock it into range of Sneasler or even Celesteela for that matter. So despite all the boosts, it is not going to be enough. Very, very rough for sure, but the AV Wash Tome is very, very solid. So now going for the final Celesteela sweep with Earthquake there, getting outsped by the Breloom, getting put to sleep, but I don't think it'll be able to be enough. Ooh, that does do a solid chunk, but the turn 1 wake up, as now Celesteela gets to go for the Autotomize, kind of seals the deal, as now Acrobatics is enough to KO, and will put it into range of the Rotom Heat. Very, very nice game overall from both individuals for sure. Very well played, and some heat sets like the AV Wash Tome, love that. Alongside just some very solid ideas like the Facade on Mega Pinsir. Very good play, and Forza wraps out with the 3-0 dub against Mana Burn. So let's just see how the fourth match goes in just a second here. Hello everybody and welcome to the fourth match. Here we have Justin versus Old Man. Honestly, really solid matchup I feel like. Looking at Old Man's team, he definitely has a solid matchup with Tangrowth, I would say. Very interesting bringing the Noctowl, the Tera Noctowl. This thing can tear into a Flying, Fairy, or Ground type, and I think it has a decent enough matchup here, to be honest. Especially without Pecharunt there, I think Tera Fairy could be pretty solid. And then he also has some solid bulky options to handle the Mega Zam and the Urshifu Rapid Strike. Just about everything physically can be walled by Tangrowth, and if it's an Assault Vest variant, I think there's a very real chance that he gets walled by it. But at the same time, like, you can't really count Mega Zam, Urshifu, and like even Tera Alcremie. Like, that thing is a beast to beat. So I am pretty interested to see how this all goes. I do feel that Mega Zam isn't the best Mon here, especially considering well, he doesn't have Darkrai, so he doesn't really have any resist to Psychic type moves. So if he has like maybe Psychic and Psyshock, maybe something to possibly hit Stream Tail like Shadow Ball, could pose a threat for sure. But let's see how it all goes with turn 1 here. Okay, so we have Cyclizar, who's likely just going to try to U-turn out, and then Mega Blastoise, who I also think has a pretty solid matchup here. Yeah, just going for the U-turn makes sense for sure. Alcremie comes on out. Probably, no, not going to Tera right away. Going for the Psychic Noise, but Aurora Veil blocks it. That's pretty cool. Just going for the Raw Calm Mind right away. Okay, I see you. I see you. I don't see very many phasing options here, so this definitely could pose a pretty big threat, I would say, if he can't hit this hard enough. Oh, Acid Armor, okay. Ooh, and that Leech Seed. That Leech Seed is pretty rough. If, yeah, I mean, if he gets, ooh, nope. Yeah, that missed Leech Seed. That is not very good for him at all. Yeah, this okay. Toxic, that'll help. That'll help. The Draining Kiss is rough, but hey, that didn't take very much at all. Going into Screamtail, gonna just he can't really go for the Psychic Noise because of Aroma Veil. Okay, just gonna try to wish up a little bit. Try to stall him out as much as possible with Toxic. I see you. It's not just gonna be Curtains immediately, so I respect it. The Draining Kiss, taking him down pretty low, and he getting healed back up. The Wish, thankfully this is a Wish support Screamtail and not a funny tech one, because genuinely I think this might just be Wraps if it didn't have Wish to stall this thing out. But regardless, this is going to be a slugfest, a massive slugfest. Noctowl coming back in and did not take 50%. If this thing has Roost, he might be able to stall it out. Okay. I see you. I respect the Noctowl. Taking less than 50%. He kind of just has to keep spamming Roost, so at bare minimum, this Alcremie is getting 1 kill and some big damage. Oof. That was kind of rough. That was a rough one for sure, but thankfully, Guarantee outspeeds this Alcremie, and yeah, he should be able to slowly start building up a little bit of health as this Alcremie just slowly starts going down and just swapping out. Okay, I definitely respect it. Definitely threatened a lot here. Kind of went like 1-for-1 almost. Well, not 1-for-1, but like taking out one Mon and then a large amount of damage on the other. And then Alcremie coming back out. He might be in range of a Tera Blast or just going for an Air Slash. Okay. Draining Kiss. Okay. Yeah, I don't think this is very sustainable for him, especially considering that Toxic is just going to keep on racking up, so his Noctowl is just going to be able to keep going. If this was a Calm Mind variant, he could potentially reverse sweep him, but it looks like it's just more so a Toxic stall Noctowl. Gotta love Toxic, folks. Mega Zam coming in, you see that's Magic Guard, not taking any. Ooh, Tinted Lens. That's kind of rough. That's kind of rough, I would say. Genuinely, I would probably Nasty Plot here if I were him. Okay, just going for the Psychic, getting his kill. I respect it. I would definitely personally set up, just because I don't think anything on the team would be able to tank a hit. I don't think this will kill. I mean, that I thought it was going to kill. That's what I was going to try to say, but my brain does not want to work. Cyclizar coming on in. Ooh, the Thunderbolt Cyclizar. I respect it. That's cool. This is fairly even so far, I would say. Though I will say Urshifu being here and Tangrowth being gone, kinda iffy. Okay. Bulk up Zeraora. I see you. I don't remember. I don't think this thing got close combat. So I don't know. But okay, just going for Whirlwind. Don't have Earthquake, or at least he didn't go for it. So pretty not bad for sure. No Tera Blast. That's kind of rough. Not having Tera Blast to take out this Ting-Lu, especially since this kind of hit like everything else on the rest of the team pretty hard. And now Ruination is just gonna start whittling down this Garchomp, which is kind of the main thing to hopefully like at least wear down this Urshifu. So it's definitely a lot closer than it looked like initially with that Alcremie. But I don't know. I'm not fully convinced just yet. But okay, Ogre Pond with the not quite fake sturdy. But I mean you could have done that. But I personally probably would have gone for the Ivy Cudgel because that didn't make contact. But if you weren't running it, okay, I see the vision. Okay, this is Scarf. Okay, yeah, should just be Wraps then. Being Scarfed to outspeed the Zeraora. This should be able to kill, and it does in fact kill. All right, old man coming, not old man. Okay, yeah, Justin coming in with the 2-0 dub. Sorry, for whatever reason, my brain just confusing the two people. I am tired right now. But yeah, the Urshifu coming back and bringing it home. I was a little worried about it at first, especially considering, Zeraora is freaking fast. But I mean, Scarf Urshifu, I respect it. Uh, a man after my hate with the Urshifu Rapid Strike and the Mega Zam, two mons that I absolutely think are frauds. But hey, he's putting in major work with it, so I respect it. I respect it a lot. But I hope you all enjoyed this battle, and let's get right on to the fifth one. Alright everybody, welcome to the fifth match here. We have Ash Ice Claw versus Renegade. Honestly, yeah, this is basically to be expected here. One thing that is very big to note is I would think that Tornadus Therian has a very solid matchup into Renegade's team. However, if it wasn't for specifically Sandy Shocks, mainly just because this entire team doesn't really love taking the combination of fire and flying type attacks. So technically speaking, if this was like a Nasty Plot, Agility, Heat Wave, Bleak Wind, Tornadus Therian, this thing would have a chance to do some really solid work into Renegade's team. But that Sandy Shocks there really puts a hammer in that, especially since Ash Ice did not bring their best switch into to Sandy Shocks being Delmise and instead bringing Obstagoon, which I will say Obstagoon is very solid here. I just think that it crumbles really hard to Lopunny specifically, and I feel like this team right now, from the way that it's at, kind of crumbles to the combination of Lopunny and Sandy Shocks. So let's see how this all turns out here with the very first turn here. So we have an Acelgor and a Arcanine. Okay, so is this going to be a Tera Captain? Okay, no, it's not going to Tera. I don't even know if this thing can Tera as is. Just going for a U-turn with a Life Orb. Okay, solid option there, I would say, especially going for the Agility. Going for the Will-O-Wisp on the Aloe. Burning it, which I don't think will do much at the end of the day. And then he has the Obstagoon. So then let's see, just going for E-Speed, Terra Normal, doing a fat chunk to that. As now the Obstagoon just goes for knockoff, claiming the first kill of the battle here. Getting rid of that Tera Arcanine is very solid, but now, like I said before, Lopunny just kind of comes on in. So can this defensive Alomomola handle this? Going for a return, it does a fat chunk, and this is not Rocky Helmet, so this burn damage is actually going to be doing a solid amount to him. Yeah, now this Aloe is in range of another one, but now does get outsped by the Acelgor, so let's see what they want to go for here. Going for the Focus Blast, okay. As now the Life Orb chip is kind of getting to the Acelgor, which is the main thing that really wants to outspeed this Lopunny. But now they go for the Spike, and as they let them go down to the U-turn. Now we see that this is, in fact, Heavy Duty Boots Dragapult. Going for Hex on the Aloe. And knocking off those boots is a solid idea for sure. Maybe I would have hard switched into Obstagoon there to get the regenerator damage while also being able to be immune to the Hex that came on in. And then threatening like massive damage into like the Corviknight. But again, that would be like threatening a knockoff. So that's one thing I would probably do differently. But Ash Ice is getting up these hazards fairly consistently. So it all depends on, yep, here we have Mike going for the defog on Corviknight. As now it gets drowsy with the Yawn, but this is just kind of a free U-turn, no? Yeah. So let's just see what they want to go on out into. Okay, Sandy Shocks, which is going to be booster special attack. Going up for the Stealth Rock again. Nothing really wants to switch in here. Earth Power doing a fat chunk. Going for the Yawn instead of the Earthquake, but that kinda is not ideal here. Okay, forcing that thing to go out, as switching into Annihilate. not a bad idea because it also does prevent the defog. Going for Final Gambit, getting rid of the both the Annihilate and the Corviknight. So not terrible there. However, I am still very nervous about this Lopunny, because Lopunny now, just like I said, it fakes out and claims a kill here, as nothing really wants to tank this hit now. Their only good option here is if their Torn is speed invested. So this is definitely a little rough, to say the least. Definitely on the back foot. Switching out into Gren, I mean to say, as now they go for an Agility. Okay. Going for Dark Pulse. Not a terrible idea, but now, yeah, just letting this Ice Beam. Does not claim the kill, though. Does not have anything for this damage here. Interesting. Does not have a flying type move or anything to hit this Greninja with. So yeah, I do think that this is just a claimed kill now for Lopunny on the rest of the team. Because I don't think there's anything Ash Ice can do here in order to live this hit from Lopunny. I don't, like, Obstagoon does not get priority. Going into Sandy Shocks instead, that does in fact claim the kill. I think it does, I don't think it really would have mattered too much if this was Lopunny versus Sandy Shocks. Maybe would have saved a little bit on the differential. Oh, never mind! Going for the Mirror Coat on the Sandy Shocks. So it looks like here that Mike is going to claim the 2-0 victory against Ash Ice Claw. Very solid match, I would say. Ash Ice played that very well considering their pretty large weakness into Mega Lopunny, and the Sandy Shocks as well. So while I think I would have done a few things differently, for example, maybe having something to hit the Greninja before Protean, like Dark Pulse being your best move to click into it maybe wasn't the best idea in my opinion. However, at the same time, it still did fairly solid work, especially after it lost its Dark typing and it lived. So if it claimed that kill, I think it would have been a pretty solid chance of claiming the dub, or at least threatening something, like bringing in Mega Lopunny to force it to fake out, possibly bringing in Aloe. Maybe I would have brought Rocky Helmet Aloe instead to chip down this Lopunny a little bit. However, I would say both individuals with the teams that they brought played fairly well. So that's it for the 5th match, and I will see you guys in the 6th. Alright everybody, welcome to the 6th match. Here we have Drees versus Caps Lock. Honestly, a pretty even squad here, I would say. Milk Tank being brought by Caps Lock, I imagine as a soft answer to Iron Moth. I would be very surprised if that wasn't ran absolutely max specially defensive. And then Galarian Slowking as well has a very solid defensive matchup into this team. I do suspect that Hawlucha will likely be running Throat Chop for that thing specifically, but if this thing is Fizz Def, it is definitely not the best like physical answer into this thing. And then Scrafty is very solid here into Drees, especially since nothing on his team really enjoys being knocked off. And it even offers a soft check-in to Hawlucha to potentially intimidate it down a little bit, at least so that it's not at +2, and then as a sack before going into something else. Same sort of thing with Landorus, being able to be a good pivot option there. And then on Drees' end, well, at the end of the day, like, you have the E-Terrain team with Iron Moth and Hawlucha there, and then the bulky support with Mega Venusaur and Lantern and Gligar. They don't really appreciate getting knocked off aside from Mega Venusaur, of course, but at the end of the day, I think this is a pretty solid matchup, so let's get right into it then. So let's see. There we go. Alright, so we have Landorus and Gligar. Okay, so this is 100% a knockoff coming on out. Ooh, going for Taunt instead. I think that's solid. Going for T-Spikes there is definitely interesting, considering that Galarian Slowking would have just been a very easy switch in there. But then the swap with the rocks, and then back into Ogerpon then, as Mega Venusaur goes for a Swords Dance, and this, ooh, getting Encore locked with the Ogerpon Hearth Flame. I imagine this was supposed to be a soft answer to this Ogerpon because of Thick Fat, but now, yeah, this thing is not going to be enjoying this very much. Ooh, and the crit knocking out Gligar. That is a really rough turn of events right there for sure. And then we have a Hawlucha, as now he goes for the swap. And we see this is not, in fact, a White Herb variant, and going for Tera Fairy on the Scrafty is now going for Tera Blast. Barely doesn't kill. And then the close combat does not do nearly enough. This thing not being able to proc its Unburden and have acrobatics for this thing is definitely really rough. Drees is really on the back foot now with Caps Lock here. His best option here, yep, Solo King Galart for the poison move. Going for Trailblaze. Okay, so SD Trailblaze. Going for Swords Dance. I imagine this thing has Earthquake, if I had to guess. That is a big amount of damage there for sure. But let's see. Okay, going for the Landorus is now the Earthquake comes on in. Caps is playing this incredibly well. As now going for Trailblaze on the Landorus, as going for Earthquake. It does outspeed a lot, but I don't think there is anything that Mega Venusaur can really do to threaten this. Even at +1, that Poison Jab is not doing much, as now the Decidueye claims the kill with the Shadow Sneak. Tapu Koko not coming on out to set the E-Terrain at all is definitely a very interesting play, as now going for the U-turn on Miltank here, bringing out Tapu Koko, finally, I would say. But now going for the Landorus on the Koko, trying to block a pivot, but now going for Nature's Madness. Okay, but as this is defensive Landorus Therian, at least from what it seems like with leftovers and taunt, now going into this, when this is just the easiest Earthquake ever, yeah, that is a guaranteed kill there. Okay, yeah, that is... I think this might just be a 6-0 dub for Caps Lock here. I don't think there's anything Drees can do to whittle down this team right now, outside of potentially going for freezes, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's gonna happen. Going for Discharge and getting the Para. This is really rough for sure. I don't think there's anything he can do to bring it back. He lost all of his offensive momentum. And now Sludge Bomb taking out the Koko as well. I think that just solidifies this 6-0 for Caps Lock. A couple of misplays early on, I feel like, with the with not bringing the Hawlucha to get its Unburden proc beforehand, while also trying to rip that a little too early, alongside just a couple of misplays early on, just kind of like snowballing out of control, because now just being like forced in and out of battle a lot, taking little bits of damage off. Yeah, definitely a rough one, but I know Drees, and he is going to 100% bring it back in the next week. This is just got to be a bit of a wake-up call, but he can definitely do it. I believe in him, but at the end of the day, GG's to both individuals, and I'll see you guys in the 7th match. Alright everybody, welcome to the 7th match. Here we have Legion versus Cran. Honestly, this seems like it'll be a really fun match, not gonna lie. Like, looking at Legion's team, I feel like he has a very solid matchup offensively and defensively into Cran's team, but I can see the exact same thing into Cran, to be honest. Like, I think Megazard has a pretty solid shot of being pretty good here, I would say, especially considering that Cran has no Stealth Rocker on the team right now, so that would mean that Charizard can pretty much freely switch in and out without fearing hazard damage, because his only hazard is spikes from Hisuian Samurai. So I think that has a very solid matchup, especially since it is easily like his best fighting type switch in for Mega Gallade, as well as an amazing Rillaboom switch in. Let me be real. But then at the same time, not Nexus, Cran, he has a very solid matchup with like Mega Gallade. I feel like it can do pretty solidly into Iron Treads, into Bolt. If it's a Tera Normal Heracross or even a Tera Dark Heracross, it does pretty solid. Moltres does pretty good at walling Darmanitan, as well as just about most things outside of like Raging Bolt, to be honest, and of course Iron Boulder right there. But let's just see how this goes. I think both teams have very solid potential, especially since Iron Treads will be definitely getting trapped by this Magnezone 1000% of the time. So let's just see how it all goes. From turn 1, here for leads, we have Mega Gallade against Charizard. Okay, 2 Megas here, immediately going for the Megazord and the Mega Gallade as well, and now going for Rock Slide. Wow, okay. Really solid idea there for sure on Cran's part. Being able to outspeed and kill that Megazord immediately is stellar, especially considering that nothing really enjoys switching in against it now at this point. And the Sun turns are pretty much gone now, so that's amazing for him, I would say. And now this Garm, this is kind of just an easy Magnezone switch. Ooh, the Protect. As he, okay, I see. And now he knows exactly what to switch in. He switches in Moltres 100% of the time, or Samurott, that also works. That still takes 60 though, bro. That does a lot. Like, it all depends if this outspeeds. Okay, never mind. Okay, that is insane. Okay, and that's still some big damage on Moltres there for sure. Like, this is, I think this is forced to roost here, as now he goes into Raging Bolt. Going for Scorching Sands. Okay, good predicts on Cran's part for sure here. Yep, going into Rillaboom, probably going to go for Volt Switch again if I had to guess. Yep. I think this is a really good angle for Heracross, personally. Like, Garm, I think, is solid, but I don't think... maybe he could go for Flare Blitz. But yeah, he has no reason to just not protect there. U-turn, solid, but now he could switch in Moltres just for free and burn him. So, yep, good idea there for sure. Yes, way to go, Legion. All right. Getting that predict and going for the hard switch instead of threatening with the Flame Body, I love that. Going for more pivoting here, that's pretty solid, I would say. Yep, now going Heracross, like I was saying before. And he can't really protect here. Yep, going for Trailblaze. Okay, I wonder what he's going to be going for then. Is he going to go for U-turn himself? He did. That crit kind of hurts because the HP on this thing always matters. Okay. This might... I think this outspeeds unless this is Scarfed. Going for Tera Normal. Okay. Psychic. Okay, doing a fat chunk there. Trailblaze again now to outspeed. I think this will outspeed now. Well, no, that probably doesn't outspeed. Okay, now it outspeeds for sure. So let's see. Going for knock. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, giving this thing grassy terrain healing, that is not amazing. Okay, the grassy glide to take the kill. Cran is playing this very, very well. Raging Bolt here. Ooh, Seed. Okay. Alright, but claiming this kill on Rillaboom is big. This kill on Rillaboom is big. And especially since now he can kind of just freely switch out. Well, not freely. Like, this is just an easy, yeah. Oh, knockoff. Oh, yeah. Okay. I probably would have CC'd there, because you really had no switch-ins, like, anyways. So I think CC would have been completely fine. But regardless, it worked out, so I can't really complain. Time for Garm. So we see this is Scarf. That did a shit ton of damage. Holy crap. And then going into Raging Bolt. to eat another close combat. I would personally Volt Switch here because, because that is just easily going to read the Thunderclap. So now going into that and then going Garm for sure. Going for Flying, okay. Oh my god, that is a crazy read, bro. Wow. That's nutty. That is nutty, my friend. I mean, you might have been able to kill there. I don't know. But, hey, what do I know? Going Moltres. Okay. And just going for Crash again. You literally just scared him out just to crash. Okay. This Garm is straight up evil, man. But yeah. I don't know. I don't think that was a throw. just did it for no reason, but yeah. Shadow Ball, oof, big chunk. He never misses those. He never misses those crashes. Never miss. Yeah, so this is a dub for Legion here, because even if he did miss that, he would have just been able to Thunderclap with Raging Bolt. So yeah, massive GG's there for sure. No hacks, really, that game. Honestly, just very good play all around. That read on Magnezone was insane, might I just say. That is absolutely crazy. But hey, this was a crazy game. Both teams played incredibly well, I would say. Very few misplays, regardless. But that is not our final match, I should say, because the final match is coming right up next. Alright everybody, welcome to the final match here in Week 2 of the MMC Pokemon Draft League, where we have Victory Stars versus Patty. Again, this is much like Legion and Cran's matchup. I think both teams have a very good matchup here. I think Patty and Stars both have equally good offensive matchups here. I think Mega Maw absolutely just eats through this team that Patty brought. Though I will say, with Overquill hopefully being max HP, max defense, and Intimidate, probably can wear it down a little bit over time, especially if it's Rocky Helmet, as well as Entei being a decent switch-in before it Terras. I think that is a solid enough option, as well as Tera Brioon being able to potentially Tera Fairy, because I think Tera Brioon has a really solid matchup. But I could say the exact same thing about Patty's Zygarde here, I think. I think being able to spam ground-type moves into this team is really solid. Meow being his best switch into ground-type moves. And even then, I think that after 1 or 2 boosts, Meow is definitely not eating 1,000 arrows very well. And all that leading up to Iron Val probably being mixed, if I had to guess, and with like Psychic and Ghost coverage, I think Val has a really solid chance of cleaning up with proper play. But let's just see how this all goes, getting with the leads. So, who do we suspect? Nidoqueen. Okay, I would suspect this is likely trying to get up Rocks and Toxic Spikes. Leading off with Overquill, then swapping directly into Wellspring, as then the Nidoqueen goes for a substitute. Okay, going into Entei. Okay. I don't think that would be my initial switch-in, just because that Earth Power probably would have ate, but just going for Sludge Waves instead makes me suspect that this thing does not have Earth Power, I should say. Tera Fire on the Entei, so this does stay a solid switch-in for the Mega Maw, as he misses a Stone Edge as he gets tricked a Choice Specs. That is really rough, especially considering now he is not a switch-in at all to the Mega Maw. Going for Stone Edge, yep. And now this is just going to be free Rocks as... Ooh, getting the crit, okay. Ooh, the 1%, man. Okay, does not break the sub, as now this Nidoqueen just claims this kill. Okay, definitely not a hazard stacking Nidoqueen if I had to guess here. Going into the Togekiss against the Poison type. I'd say that might be a solid idea, though I do think Overquill would have just always been better here, just because I I don't think that he has Earth Power at this moment, because I feel like he would have clicked it against the Entei. So maybe that's what I would have done personally, but he does end up claiming the kill with Ogerpon Wellspring, as now Meowscarada comes in, likely to U-turn, as now he goes for Spiky Shield, getting a little bit of chip damage off, as well as forcing him into the Tera Bug. So I would probably go into, okay, Overquill. I'd say that's a fair enough switch. I probably would have gone Iron Valiant, forced him to make a bit of a more offensive play, or a defensive play, I mean. Oh, I see. This is the Zoroark. Okay, I see you. Okay, that was solid. Getting this thing burned really neutralizes its offensive threat. As now he's just going to opt for going for spikes. Okay, now he's likely going to taunt again to make sure that this thing cannot set up on him, as he just gets up his spikes. Yep, no longer being able to go for the sub. I think that's a solid enough idea, making sure that this thing is forced to attack him, take the chip damage, but he misses a play rough. That does suck, because now he gets a free, oh no, he's just going for the damage? Okay, I personally would have gotten a third spike up, but hey, I think the chip damage, if it mattered, not a terrible idea. Now going for Zygarde here. As you see, this is likely going to be a, ooh, okay. I would, yep, this is definitely going to be a triple axle if I had to guess. Yep, indeed, triple axle. As now this is going to do a fat chunk to this Ogerpon Wellspring, but hey, now this Meowscarada is no longer a switch into this Zygarde. And you see that it is not choiced. It is not choiced, nor is it heavy duty boots. Okay, that's sort of when the extra spike would have really mattered here. But now claiming the kill with Valiant Vacuum Wave. Patty is still pretty on the back burner here, as now we see this is either Boots or Magic Guard. I do think that this thing right now with Tera Fairy, I don't think there's much, I don't think there's much that Patty can do at this moment in time. I think, ooh, that did do a chunk. I don't think Val is in a position to beat this Victini though. Maybe after Hazard's Chip. Switching it in raw, I don't think it can eat two, especially not the liquidation. Okay, I see you, Patty. All right, forcing chip damage off on this. Yep, that is Zoroark right there. And yeah, claiming the kill. All right, then Victory Stars gets the 3-0 dub against our Heroes champ, Patty. Really rough, I would say. A couple of plays that I probably would have changed. I probably would have claimed the kill on Overquill instead of Togekiss, just because I think Togekiss would have been a solid enough like switch in to like possibly Zoroark or even Meowscarada. And I think letting it go down to the Nidoqueen that likely didn't have Earth Power for the Overquill, that's probably what I would have done. But at the end of the day, like I think overall the play was good. It's just Stars' team just overwhelmed him a little bit, and that happens sometimes. That happens to the best of us. But I hope you all enjoyed this week of the MMC Pokemon Draft League. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm on my way to 250 subscribers, and y'all can help me get there. Yeah, and that's about it. Peace.